How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal, and today we're going to talk about a shmup. Not a shmup from any old body. A shmup developed by Compile. Y'all might know Compile as the Puyo Puyo people, right? You know Puyo Puyo, the puzzle game. It got ported to the Genesis as Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, to the Super NES as Kirby's Avalanche. But Puyo Puyo's everywhere. A few years ago, we got Puyo Puyo Tetris. Weird mashup, great game. It kicks my butt because I suck at both games. But anyway, in addition to Puyo Puyo though, Compile developed a whole lot of other games. Particularly really good shmups. From Blazing Lasers to Robo LS to Musha, which is fantastic. It's one of my grails. I desperately want a copy, but I'm not paying that for it. To today's game, which is an early third-party release on the Super NES. NES, I'm sorry. I got a little tongue-tied for a second. But it was published on the NES. And it was published by Pony Canyon in Japan, which means that it got sent to the US and published by FCI. Because Pony Canyon and FCI, same company. It's a shmup, vertical shmup, scrolling shmup, and it has a really interesting little bit of tech in there that makes this game unique to the Star Forces and Gradiuses of the world at that time. Today, we're going to take a look at Zanac. Now, in Zanac, you play as a little guy shooting a bunch of stuff. Story don't matter. It's a shmup. Shmups, the story in shmups is there to justify blowing stuff up. We've talked about this before. What makes Zanac interesting is the fact that according to the developers and to press and all that about this game, this was one of the first shmups made that featured adaptive AI. Now this was 1986 when this game was released on the Famicom. And the fact that it had something like adaptive AI in those days is remarkable. Now what is adaptive AI? That means that the game learns from your style of play and adjusts to make itself just a bit harder. So if you're really good, the game gets really hard. This is probably around the time when the idea of strategic deaths popped up. That's something that we learned, shmup players specifically learned for games like Ibarra and stuff like that, where game starts getting real difficult. You pick a good spot to die, somewhere where you can build your weapons back up, stuff like that, and adjust so the game doesn't get too hard. I don't know about this game being a place where strategic deaths are a good idea though, because I don't remember how the continue setup works for Zanac. I do know though that this game is tough. It gets there real easy on you. The soundtrack is fantastic, especially for this time frame. This was 1987 when we got it in the States. Yeah, the soundtrack's fantastic. The gameplay is solid. For a shmup of this age, you didn't get stuff this good this early. We didn't. A lot of stuff. 1942, I love it because of what it represents. But 1942 isn't fantastic. Micronix did not do a great job for Capcom. This though, Compile, they put their ankles in it. It's one of those games where not only is it an historical piece, but it's a great example of what a hardcore shmup came to be. This is probably the earliest examples of what would eventually become bullet hell. And this was years before Batsugan, which is, by all accounts, the first bullet hell shmup. Now, if you want a copy of Zanac, about $20, $30 here, there, something like that. It starts at about, there are copies that go for as low as like $11. You can get copies for about, average, about somewhere between $10 and $20. Complete copies, you're gonna pay about $120, $130. I wouldn't pay that because I don't care about having a box. Having the game and having a game that works, I can look up manuals. That ain't a problem. And the box just gonna take up space on my shelf. As long as I got that game and that game works, that's what I'm here for. And Zanac is definitely a game that deserves to be on any shmup fan shelf. So if you like shmups, if you are a fan of shmups that skew a little bit to hardcore, you should definitely track down a copy of Zanac because it's fantastic. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, this is a bad idea, but it could be worse. This could be based on Full Metal Jacket instead.